One, two, three. Okay. Don't forget to like and share this video, and don't forget to click the subscribe button. Subscribe tayo. Alright, there we go. Okay, we have an audio. Magandang gabi kay Arthur Parilla, who's in Edmonton, Alberta. Bangers, Ale, tama ba yan? Ricardo Paginto, Dalia Basilio, My Munchkin 31, Tatay Strauss Fernandez, Lida Boggs, Aldrin De La Cruz, Tipkulang Channel, Tess Quintos, Dulce Isip, and Princess Eureka. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Well, it's almost morning here. We posted sa Luminous, and it's being picked up gradually, na yung labor union ng DSWD, the SWEAP, or Workers Employees Association of the Philippines, or SWEEP, ay umalis na dun sa federasyon nila, which is Courage. Yung Courage po as the government federation or union ng lahat ng mga government employees. And we're actually looking at this as a good thing. The Courage is aligned with Bayan Muna. And as a matter of fact, yung kanilang representante dati, yung kanilang presidente dati o leader ng Courage ay ngayon congressman na representing Bayan Muna, party list. And isa siya dun sa tinagurian nilang Makabayan Bloc, which we also refer to as a communist bloc. Now, this isn't about their politics yet, pero we'd like to discuss first why, unions aren't a bad thing. As a matter of fact, protektado sila ng ating saligang batas, which guarantees social justice. So, ang konsepto ng union kasi po is the idea that if you band together, you're more powerful. Ang mga unions po are made up of usually wage earners or salaried employees. Hindi po dyan kasama ang mga management, although may mga kinikilala na tayo ng mga union ng mga supervisors. The unions are supposed to be, well, they're perfectly legal at bawal po ang naghaharang ng mga unions or nagpo-form ng mga unions sa kumpanya. Lately, however, nakakakita tayo ng trend, and it isn't just here in the Philippines, parang kumukonti na po ang sumasali sa mga unions lately, although yung konsepto remains the same. You organize yourselves into a group so that nakakapagtiman kayo ng better rights, better working conditions, and all that. Kasi nung nag-start po sa industrial age, noon araw, nung nag-uumpisa pa lang yung konsepto ng isang employee, a long time ago, dati wala ngang weekends, walang working hours na set, walang workers' rights, walang standardization ng mga salaries and all that. So, as time progressed, eventually, the laborers who used to be at the mercy of the business owners would realize na masyado na silang tutukan. But it took several years. In fact, the industrial age was in the early 20th century, pero yung konsepto ng labor and unionism came much, much later. In the United States, nag-umpisa once they learned to band together and create unions, then nag-stabilize na yung mga working conditions. Now employers can have to guarantee yung safety ng kanilang mga empleyado. They have to guarantee them a living wage, okay? Although may mga rules tayo and laws on salary standardizations at saka industrial standards at saka yung mga standard wages or days wages, kailangan pa rin it still has to be a living wage. So, ngayon, ang SWEAP at saka ang Courage, well, Courage is a federation. So, may mga tatlong klase kasing unions. There's the usual, the trade unionism, political unions, and then there are the federations. yung federations are usually, at least dito, are a group of different unions sa iba-ibang sa iba-ibang companies at nag-a-align sila sa isang malaking federation. But we also have what we call political unions. Dito kasi, bihira yung distinction between just the usual trade unionism at saka yung mga political unions. Ang political unions kasi, they also negotiate for better laws, better working conditions through the laws at namumulitika sila. So some of them, they run for public office and they align themselves with certain parties. Okay? Ganun po ang nangyari dito. Now, sa Pilipinas, nire-recognize na allowed mag-unionize ang government employees. Uh, but bawal sila mag-strike, which is the difference between government employees and the usual trade unions or labor unions in the private sector. Okay, so para lang may background tayo. Ngayon, ang CE, SW, Social Workers Employees Association, ay naka-associate sila for the longest time under Courage. Now, normally, we wouldn't say any of this is a bad thing, di ba? But Courage nga is aligned with Bayan Muna and has a tendency to be very aggressive dun sa actions nila. We're not also saying that that's a bad thing. Kasi itong mga unions, they're also responsible for agitating for better workers' rights dito sa Pilipinas. And we have to hand it to them. We have to give them credit where credit is due. The problem is, pagdating po kasi sa government unions, mas mabagal yung changes. Because a lot of the changes with salaries and all that are already bound up in rules and laws. So, bihira yung mababago mo, halimbawa yung salary grades, ganyan, kasi these are set by law. Okay. Sabi ni Trini, it's almost midnight, don't sleep so late. Yes, but it's the weekend. Diba? Kasi yung iba, like we said, diba, iniiba-iba natin yung oras para yung iba na audiences natin that are abroad might be able to catch the live every so often. So, back to unions. Ang na-agitate lang or nagagawa lang ng mga trade unions o ng government unions usually is to rectify things that are allowed by the law. Like for instance, ano yung working conditions nila, ano yung mga guarantees for safety and all that. And as well as some kind of stability when it comes to hiring and firing policies. Pagka policy level sila, hindi siya batas. So medyo masikip yung capability nila to change things too much. That is why government employees nag-align sila with a federation. And in this case, the federation is Courage. I'm not sure if it's the only federation pa rin in the country, but for the longest time, they are the most dominant. Yun lang nga, lately, Courage has been falling into disfavor at ito na nga, medyo historic move itong pag-alis ng sweep dun sa Courage. Because normally, it helps kapag nag-align kayo with the federation kasi nakikiisa yung mga ibang government employees even from other offices and other departments. And I na-realize ko na konti yung nagpa-participate dito with not so many questions kasi nga dito sa Pilipinas yung participation in unions isn't as big as in other countries. Furthermore, dito kasi kukonti talaga yung compared to the entire workforce, kukonti yung tinatawag natin na formal sector. Yung mga nagre-report ng kanilang ng employment nila, that people who have the SSS and PhilHealth and Pag-ibig and all of that is less than half of the current workforce. Ang ating workforce kadalasan nasa informal sector pa rin. So 'di ba yung pag sinasabi nila ay tinaasan yung minimum wage, ay tinaasan ng whatever o merong ayuda from the business owners have to give a certain amount as help during COVID sa kanilang mga employees. it doesn't affect too many people. And as a matter of fact, kung hindi ako nagkakamali sa pagkakaalala ko, nung dinidiscuss ito sa Karambola last year, ang nilagay nga nila na na recognized na number of employees in the formal sector is only about 7 million. Eh ilan tayo dito sa Pilipinas? Lampas daan million tayo. So, yun. But in this case, when SWEEP left Courage, it left a significant political union. Kasi, well, it left a political union. Kasi nga, ang Courage, ayan, tumatawid-tawid sila into lawmaking, nag-align sila with a certain party. And in this case, it is aligned with the the Makabayan Bloc, which is considered a leftist organization, which by itself is not a bad thing. But Bayan Muna has come under fire supposedly for being one of the organizations who support the insurgency. So ang association ng SWEEP is for them no longer a good thing. Nag-umpisa yan nung nagko-question na sila, teka, sabi nila, nagbabayad kami taon-taon ng mga fees namin para maging miyembro kami ng Courage. Pero parang hindi malinaw kung saan ninyo ginagastos. And this is a whole different ball of wax. Kasi they don't also want to be contributing directly or indirectly in this case to an organization which has now recently been declared as a terrorist organization. So yun yung maganda dito. Nagkakaroon na rin ng move, at least sana this becomes a trend with the SWEEP breaking away from Courage. Malaking bagay yun. I'm pretty sure that they did not come to this decision lightly or very easily. So, check ko yung mga comments ninyo. Magandang gabi kay Alexander Lintag, Alan Joseph Aniceto, Imelda Alejo, Sniper Fox, Doc Abeliana, Ma'am Annette, Allegredy, Tess Quintos, Ahmed Sheikh, Menchi Nifled, Rosemary Daza, Vivian Hickley, Elodora Lay Asan, and Lobinso. Pakaway-kaway naman daw, sabi ni Ardon sa Alcobar, KSA. Who is watching from France? Amor Martin is watching from France. Makikinig muna daw siya kasi parang interesting yung topic. We will try to keep it interesting dito. It's good to see you live, sabi ni Ma'am Juanita Biliran. But she has, she's, sad to say I'm not done yet. Avid listener and follower in Hong Kong. Di pa daw siya tapos mag-work. I've learned a lot from you, sabi ni Ma'am Juanita. Trinity says, good morning from Ontario. Good evening out there. Yeah, it's almost midnight. It is midnight. Galit of Hervasio says, team replay daw siya kasi busy. Magani says, nakapanood rin ng live. Beatrice Caliboso says, nood muna. Okay? Dito sa France, sabi ni Amor, napakalakas ng aming trade union dito at maimpluwensya sila lalo na sa pakikipaglaban sa karapatan ng mga pribado at government employees. Pero minsan, di pa rin maiiwasan ng problema. Sabi ni Chris Bilawen, sa aming mga marino, ma'am, parang ang hina ng Philippine Seafarers Union. Hanggang ngayon, marami pa ring marino na under $500 ang sahod sa isang buwan. Tawag namin dyan, tiis-tiis rate. Huli cow. O nga eh. Well, dito, we talked about unions, no? Dun sa mga unions natin, paano tayo how do the unions become strong enough so that they have an opportunity to actually change things? Well, among others, of course, the law protects them kasi bawal nga ipagbawal sa isang kumpanya ang isang union at saka bawal din yung union na sinusponsor ng may-ari o ng management. So, kasi kailangan yan medyo adversarial. Now, meron tinatawag na collective bargaining. At yung collective bargaining po, that is how you can work out or, how do you call this, negotiate for better rates or better working conditions. Yung iba kasi, the ultimate power of a union is to eventually, if necessary, declare a strike. Sa ating batas, hindi ka basta-basta pwede mag-strike Usually is pinapaalam yan sa DOLE or at least binibigyan ng notice sa DOLE. Ibig sabihin, nag-collapse na lahat ng pagkakataon na magkasundo sila at saka nag-fail na yung collective bargaining nila. Some unions tend to do it too much. And some unions that are aligned with political parties or what we call political unions, minsan, for other reasons nila ginagamit other than their own collective bargaining. And this is where things get a little confusing. So, dito, because may mga political alignments nga, along with it come the usual problems with political alignments, di ba? You get identified with a particular party and minsan napapako kayo dun sa party na yon. Uh, in the 80s or before the late 70s and going into the 80s, some of our industries were very badly hit by the frequent strikes that were being called by the unions. So medyo ruinous din kapag sinobrahan yung paggamit ng kanilang last resort power. And this can affect the national interest. During the time of Cory Aquino's presidency, she was also hard hit by a lot of strikes. Nung time na yon, ang daming labor unrest. Sometimes kasi, pagka may there are certain conditions that create a situation like that. And one of them, dati kasi, takot mag-strike, takot yung masyado nilang gamitin yung pagkakataon mag-strike. Pero the rare times na nagkaka-strike, minsan nagiging violent naman. During martial law, although konti yung mga strikes, sometimes they ended up with there were claims by labor unions na ino-oppress sila along with in the same way the political dissidents were being oppressed or shut up or jailed and all that. Nung dumating yung core years, there was this feeling that that yung parang nabigyan ng freedom, parang nagwawala yung mga tao. That was one of the theories. Dahil eto, medyo lumuwag ang kondisyon, sumobra naman, well, hindi naman sumobra in the eyes of the labor unions, pero they were able to use their power to strike very, very liberally. And this led to a lot of closures of industries. Ngayon, at the time, dinidiscuss yung on whether or not magdi-declare ng moratorium on strikes. Diba? Pinaalala ni Tatay Strauss Fernandez, government unions don't have CBA but CNA. Correct. Collective negotiation agreements. It's because government employees can't negotiate about wages, correct? And because wages in government are set by rule or by law. So yun nga, they have only CNA and usually you can bargain only for certain conditions. So tuloy natin yung kwento. So ask na tuloy yung ibang mga businesses so that they could stay afloat. They were requesting the government to declare a strike moratorium of about 5 to 10 years. Yung bawal ng strike, ibabawal yon by law para makarecover yung ibang mga industries or makarecover yung economy. As we know now, that did not happen. Kasi nga, there was just so much pressure nga from labor unions at malakas silang maglobby because they affiliated themselves with certain political organizations. So, some of the industries, while they had other problems, like the textile industry, maraming nag-smuggle, so they were directly competing with smugglers, but were also hard hit by a lot of strikes during that time. So, dati, meron pa tayong textile industry. Ngayon po, wala na. So, na-double whammy sila with both smugglers on one end and then so many strikes on the other end. Some, when some of the unions kasi affiliated with the more, extreme parties or extreme ideologies, medyo, yun nga, ang dalas ng strikes and sometimes nagiging violent siya. So, having learned our lesson from that one, ngayon, may mga conditions na bago pwede mag-strike ang mga unions, at the same time, mas mabilis mag-impose na ng penalties on illegal strikes. Ah, sabi ni Ma'am Christina, pag pang ilang pagtatagpo na natin dito sa live. Oy, nagkaano na sila. Magkakakilala na kayo dyan sa sa comment section. So yun ang sinasabi natin ngayon. In some instances, it's a good thing kapag may ganitong klaseng mga movements within the labor sector kasi nagkakaroon ng pagbabago. In the long run, doon pa lang natin makikita whether it was a good thing for us in all. Pero ang tingin ko dito, with courage falling out of favor with the mainstream, then we can expect that other unions from other government agencies might also leave. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, naalala ko pa, daming Pinoy movies noon, laging may mga union at strikes na ganyan. Kadenang bulaklak. Ay, oo nga, no? Kasi dati hindi ako masyadong fan ng Pinoy movies. Ngayon nanonood na ako, even the really cheesy ones na papanood ko pa. Tinatanong ni Clifford yung tungkol sa ATL. So, ang request ko lang, if you're going to ask about something, you're going to have to reproduce the whole thing. Otherwise, nauubos oras natin, naghahanap pa ako ng provision na yun. Lalong-lalo na, that's not our topic for today. I will answer it, but you'll have to reproduce in the comment section what it says. So, yan. Para dun sa mga hindi pa nagla-like or share, don't forget to like and share. So, let's check out your questions. Pwede na, even if it's not related to labor and labor unions or sweep. Puro rally, sabi ni Omni Slash. Ibig sabihin noon, walang kwenta mga fees na binibigay ng labor unions na kokorap. Well, not necessarily, no? Kasi usually, pinag-uusapan naman ng union yan. Yung, whether or not they're going to go on strike. Also, may mga elections din yan eh. So the labor unions have to elect their officers and all that. Minsan kasi, yung mga officers, kasi yun ang pagkakatiwalaan mo to negotiate, o sila yung pagkakatiwalaan mong may kausap na mga politicians kung kayo ay politically affiliated. So minsan din kasi, hindi ideal yung mga leaders, kaya nagkakaproblema. Sabi ni Ma'am Lenore Gabawan, bakit kaya yung minimum wage natin parang di makatarungan sa daily needs natin tulad ng transport, pagkain? Saan ba binabase nila kaya ito? Well, there will always be a tug of war between what the employers think they can afford and what the workers think that they can afford also. Kumbaga, afford to make a decent living, and the business owner afford so that they can still turn a profit. So parati naman yung it will depend really on what side. So for the business owners, usually angal sila, masyadong mataas, masyadong ganito, and so forth. One of the complaints nga in certain sectors kung bakit wala masyadong foreign direct investments ay dahil nga dun sa tendency for labor unrest in some of the industries. So pagka tinamaan kasi kayo ng strike, tapos tumuloy-tuloy yan, then you may as well close your business kasi 'di ba bawal din naman mag-hire ng scabs, yung mag-hire ka ng workers na as against the strike, di ba? Yung pag mag-sneak in ka ng mga workers, bawal po yun. The only power nga of, the strongest power of the union is to be able to strike. And if the business owner finds a way around that, then it defeats the entire purpose. Parang, parang pinabayaan mo na magutom yung mga tao. Sabi ni Omni Slash, puro mga socialist mga leaders natin kaya puro din rally. Not sure kung kung yung political affiliation with socialism is the reason for kung bakit puro rally, pero yun nga, there's some kasi na pag politically affiliated, very very aggressive sila sa paggamit ng strikes. Sabi ni Pag-Rex, ano po magagawa ng government to mitigate the infiltration of communist terrorists? I'd like to point out na tama yung ginamit niyang term communist terrorists. Kasi if we stop at communists, communism isn't a crime. So thank you, Pag-Rex. What can government do to mitigate the infiltration of communist terrorists? Actually, not much. Kasi yung terrorism, madali yan. Kasi once na proscribe na yung isang organisasyon, edi lahat ng kaalyado nila ay napaparusahan din, magiging liable din. Pero kapag hindi naman pa sila proscribed or even declared, then ano, there's not much that we can do kasi oppressive naman yon kung babawalin mo sila mag-align with a certain political ideology. Bawal yung sabihin na pwede kayong magkaroon ng confederation pero bawal lang kung komunista kayo o socialist kayo. You cannot you cannot police political belief any more than you can stop a religious belief. Did FEM really abandon the Sabah claim? Sabi ni Pepe Malonzo, although out of topic. I don't think so. We never did. Officially, the Philippines has never dropped its Sabah claim. What we did was not become active in it. I think we should have a discussion on that. Aralin ko muna ng lubos yan. Sabi ni Lenore Gabawan, kaya po maraming umalis ng Pinas dahil sa mababang sweldo. Kasi dito po sa Dubai, kahit mababang sweldo, kaya po ang transport cost at living expenses. Meron pa ipadala dyan sa Pilipinas. Well, I agree. Kaya lang, ang setting ng wages po are based on yung across the board. Cost of living, magkano ba yung dito, everything. They're supposed to take into consideration what are the living conditions, ano yung minimum na kailangan, pangangailangan, costs of public transportation, ano pa ba, costs ng food, of course, and rent in a certain area. Plus, within an industry, syempre, dinedetermine yan based on how many workers are being paid a certain amount. So, may computation po kasi yon. But I agree na kasi dito nga tayo sa Pilipinas na hindi pa ganun kalaganap yung number of industries. Then, tapos yung like I said, maliit pa din yung formal na labor sector natin. Then talagang expected po the wage or the salary rates here also reflect the conditions of our economy. We're not saying naman din na hampas lupa rates pa tayo. It's looking better kasi nga mataas ang foreign direct investments, mataas ang confidence sa atin, ang laki ng reserves natin, ng dollar reserves natin. So, in the past 4 years, things have been looking up. Pero hindi pa rin aabot dun sa kung ikukumpara ninyo dun sa mga Middle Eastern countries. Sabi ni Crow Fighter, reminds me of what Secretary Locsin said in Asia Society about how there was a plan for both Philippines and Indonesia to invade Sabah under Marcos. I'm not sure if invade would be the correct term. More like retake, siguro. Kasi nga, our stand is that Sabah belongs to us. So, invasion would mean that you're going to a foreign country. So, I think, yes, I've heard about that, pero hindi pa ako ganun ka-versed dun sa history niyan. Allow me muna to study it before we discuss it fully here. Sabi ni Omni Slash, kung pwede pagbawalan ng pagiging communist kasi imposible naman ang ideology nila in reality, baka socialism pwede pa. But communism is utopia and that's wishful thinking. Well, I agree, but you can't ban a thought. Diba? You can't ban people from thinking or even from coming up with these creative ideas. Sabi ni Bob Mario, One Love. Bakit po barangay officials walang flag pag namatay? Just asking lang po. Thank you, more power. I'm not sure. Talaga, hindi flag draped yung coffin nila. I'm sorry, I did not know that. I thought that all government officials were entitled to a flag draped coffin. Sabi ni Amor Martin, obligado po ba ang membership o obligado po ba na magkaroon ng labor union ng isang company? No, it's the choice of the employees kung gusto nila mag-organize at mag-unionize. Um, Obligado ba magkaroon? Oo. But the company cannot prevent unionization. Bawal yon. At saka bawal din po yung yung sila yung sponsor. Ah, Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, kaya minsan talaga mabuting natututo tayo to question everything, hindi yung basta sunod na lang sa kung ano yung nakasanayan na. Kasi kung nagkataon tuloy ang pagbayad sa courage. Oy, si Ma'am Christina nahahalata yung pagka-UP. Kasi yan yung that's really what we are taught, di ba? To question everything. They teach that they taught that sa amin sa College of Law. Kasi, halimbawa, may decision na ang Korte Suprema over something, sinasabi ng mga professors natin, just because there is a Supreme Court decision on that, doesn't mean that when you have the right conditions or the right case, you cannot challenge that decision. So, challenge and question everything. Because that's how we learn, di ba? Scientists challenge and question. Ayan, if there's sorry na disconnect for a short while. Okay. Sabi ni Bob Mario, I'm sorry po, former po pala na barangay captain. Well, that might be different. Hindi po ako sure. Normally, we recognize even former officials. We'll have to look into that. Kasi ang alam ko nga, all government, pagka nakaupo ka, you're entitled to a flag-draped coffin. Retirees in the armed forces are entitled to the same thing. So, you'll have to double check that kung bakit hindi siya entitled to a flag. Sabi ni Ian, Roger Poral, hopefully next Heritage History topic, we can discuss the significance of South China Sea and our pre-colonial diplomatic ties sa China from Mindanao, Raha. Napanood ko lang po kay SAS. We're talking about the Sultan of Sulu's state visit to China. Actually, na-discuss na po natin yan, pero not yata in the recent ones. Dati, dun sa Facebook Live, I might have to look for that again. But yeah, there's a movie that was directed by national artist Eddie Romero called Hari sa Hari, Lahi sa Lahi. Let's see if we can find that online. But since it's a work of a national artist, dapat naka-preserve yun. So, he actually made an entire movie about that. And I forgot who the stars were. Pero it's one of those that we declared a masterpiece of the national artist. We're going to have to, I think CCP might have it. Maybe we'll ask for a re-showing of that movie. And yes, it's about the state visit of the Sultan of Sulu to the Emperor of China. That's why we say that we've had international relations a long time na. Even before we became a country. Sabi ni Ma'am Amor, paano kung may pressure na malawakang tanggalan kung magbabalak ang mga employees na magtayo ng labor union? Bawal po yun. That's called union busting at ma-penalize very heavily yung business pag ginawa nila yon. Ano po pwedeng gawin ng mga employees kung gano'n? You will have to file a case for ULP, unfair labor practice, if I'm not mistaken. Sabi ni Carlos Vivi, di ba meron po bang law dati pinagbabawal ang pagiging communist? Dati kasi outlawed ang Communist Party of the Philippines and this was called the Anti-Subversion Act. Hindi na po natin kailangan yun talaga ngayon kasi nga may anti-terrorism law. Dati kasi, dun sa Anti-Subversion Act, it was Congress that declared the Communist Party an illegal organization.
Marcos.
Marcos. Yeah. So it's a PD? Okay, so it was a presidential decree pala. So the Marcos declared the Communist Party outlawed, and then it was reiterated during Cory's presidency. So outlawed yung Communist Party. So pag hinuli yung isang miyembro, ang pinapatunayan lang sa hukuman is whether or not he's a member. Now the problem with that is that since it was Congress, in Cory's case, and Marcos in Marcos's case, that declared the Communist Party an illegal organization, this violates the due process clause of our Constitution. So, ngayon, malabong mangyari na Congress itself will declare an illegal organization, kailangan may due process. Kung titignan ninyo yung anti-terrorism law, it is the first a declaration is made by the Anti-Terrorism Council, and then a prescription can be made by the Court of Appeals. Yung prescription na yon, that will give rise to the charges of recruitment, membership, arranging for travel, and all the other affiliated crimes or all other collateral crimes contained in the Anti-Terrorism Act. So, hindi mapipenalize because membership will be penalized, mere membership will be penalized. Kailangan, bago ma-declare na illegal yung organisasyon, kailangan may notice at hearing. So, in this case, there's that possibility, mas constitutional, kumbaga, constitutional, will survive a constitutional challenge, yung proscription of the communist terrorist groups, for example. Pero kung meron kang Anti-Subversion Act na unilaterally i-declare na illegal ang isang organisasyon, even if it's not the CTG itself, then that would be considered unconstitutional now by the Supreme Court. Dati nakakapasa ng constitutional challenge nung panahon ni Marcos because it was a very friendly Supreme Court to the former president. Tinatanong ni Ma'am DJ, sana po magka-live on the status of the BBM protest or impeachment of Leonen. The problem kasi is wala pa nga kasing galaw. Ang sabi ni Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, end of the month pa po ng January bago siya maglabas ng resolution on whether or not iti-take up o gagawing issue yung third cause of action dun sa petition ni BBM. Yung third cause of action yun yung mga ilang provinces or provinces sa Mindanao that can be nullified yung kanilang returns. Hindi ko nilipat yung aking anak dyan sa UP Diliman, sabi ni Reynaldo Luis, to the province. Hindi makatapos dahil doon na sumama sa mga org sa loob. Sayang yung DOST scholarship niya. Uy, stricto kasi yung terms talaga ng DOST scholarship. Yung DOST scholarship kasi, di ba, may mga conditions ng DOST ka ba?
No.
So, yung
Philippine
mga,
Science.
Usually kasi science-based courses yan, no? Sayang talaga kasi kumpleto yung DOST scholarship Pero ngayon po kasi with the STFAP at saka free tertiary education, halos hindi na kailangan po yung DOST. So kung makakabalik siya, ako suggest ko tapusin nyo. In fact, I had discussions with some military officials earlier today. And hindi nga nila pinopromote yung demonization na nangyayari sa UP na naiilang nga sila over that. They're after communists. Communist terrorists. Sorry, magkamuntik na ako. They're after terrorists. They're not against UP. Hindi nga sila galit Kami nga, nag-uusap kami. So, I think we really have to be very, very careful about how we deal with our impressions of UP. Kasi kahit ang gobyerno, hindi nila sinasabi yung mga things like defund UP. Oo, minsan nabitiw ni Pangulo yung yung salitang yon, but after that, hindi na po niya inulit. So, please be very, very careful. Kahit yung ating mga kahit ang ating secretary, hindi niya sinasabi na defund UP, buwagin ng UP, masasama ang mga taga-UP, mga komunista kayong lahat dyan. No. What he's saying is that he wants to protect the students of UP against the recruiters of the NPA. So we have to make a distinction, ha. Mag-ingat rin tayo dun sa extremist na thinking na parang como ba't may issue tungkol dito sa pag-abrogate ng agreement, iniisip na natin na dapat sunugin na natin yung university, di ba? Be very careful. That kind of extremist behavior is also not logical. Sabi ni Sir Carlos, ay thank you sa pagsasagot. Sana magkaroon na ng regular sked tong live nyo. Ay, mahirapan tayo sa regular sked kasi it will really depend on yung kung ano yung inaaral ko at the time for karambola and for tambayan. Pero, at saka ang sinasadya po kasi talaga namin na iba-ibang oras yung live para iba-iba yung makakahabol dun sa live. Kasi yung iba pagka-abroad, di ba? Hindi na nila maaabutan yung pagka-morning. Madalas umaga po ako nakakapag-live. So, pag weekends, as much as possible, iibahin ko like ganitong oras para marami po, mas marami tayong nag-uusap. At saka iba-iba yung mga kausap natin. It's not that I don't like those who listen in the morning, ha? We just want more people to be able to participate. Sabi ni Bag, hi, ask ko lang po, so hindi ba pwede na basta i-declare ni PRRD na prescribed na sa terrorist group ang NPA at CTG? Kailangan po ba nga ng go-ahead ng Congress? No, ang go-ahead dyan is the Court of Appeals. Ang ginawa ng Presidente, nag-issue siya ng executive order. Yung executive order na yon under the old law, sa Human Security Act, dadalit mo pa sa court. Tapos yung court ang magko-conduct ng hearings to determine kung terrorist group na nga siya. I-affirm nila yung yung declaration dun sa executive order. Ngayon po hindi na necessary na magkaroon ng executive order. Pwede na mag-file ang Anti-Terrorism Council directly with the Court of Appeals. Sabi ni BJ Cans, ilang buwan na lang po matatapos na term ni VP. Kaya pa bang habulin ni BBM? Well, if the resolution by the end of the month is affirmative na pwede yung third cause of action, then malapit na po yun. Good morning din daw kay Attorney Osang. Nandito ba siya? Dapat abolish ng UP, sayang tax ko dyan, sabi ni Joel Tunggal. O yan, yung kind of extremist thinking na hindi ini-encourage ng any of our AFP. At kahit kami, syempre, well, aside from the fact, might be, baka sabihin ninyo, kasi graduate kayo doon, kaya ayaw ninyo. But, just as a preliminary, we should have a live on this solely later on. Pero ganito po yun the university produces very productive members of society and leaders both in politics, in business, in various fields, medicine, law, all of that. The education that is given by UP is Class A, talaga one of the best. That's why among Philippine schools, ang ranking ng UP is ahead of in the international categories, in the international evaluations. UP is still higher than other Philippine schools. Okay? So there's no question about the kind of education that UP gives. The problem is, and we don't want you also to suffer the impression that UP produces the most number of communist terrorists. Even the AFP doesn't say that. Okay? Nobody is saying na ang pinakamataas na recruitment is sa UP. Actually, it is PUP. Okay? And they're now coming from various universities. So yung galit po ninyo, you have to examine that if that is kind of extreme because, well, it is. It's not, it defies logic. The AFP also does not say na maraming taga-UP ang komunista. Kahit hindi pa terorista, hindi rin nila sinasabi yon. When as a matter of fact, if you ask General June Parlade, maliit lang yung porsyento na actually nare-recruit from UP. a majority of the UP students are actually quiet about this issue. What you need to do in order to make a more objective observation is tignan ninyo yung mga rally sa UP. Ilan ang sumasali? Kahit sabihin mo pang 100 o 200 lang sumali dyan, ang student population, undergraduates lang ha, is 12,000 in Diliman alone. So kung 200 ang sumali sa rally, ilang libo ang hindi sumali. What I'm saying is that the perception is easy for people who are pushing a certain agenda. So, madali kasi maghikayat sa mga taong magalit sa CTGs, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that you have to get mad at the entire university, which has, in fact, done its job of educating its students. Okay? If merong mga exceptions dyan, may exceptions po sa lahat ng universities. The problem lang is that kaya UP po ang sinisingle out is because the other universities will follow pagka UP ang tinirada mo. Once we take care of the problem in UP, it is easier to take care of the problems elsewhere in other universities. Sabi ni Roldan, akala ko UP ay isang school campus lang. Mali ako, isang barangay siya. Yes, it's very big. Actually, we're bigger than the Ateneo, which says they're big, but they're not. Malaki yung, and we're only talking about the Diliman campus, ha? Even the other, campuses, UP Miagao is also very big. Isang barangay rin lang po yata, rin lang sila. Sabi ni Tatay Charles Fernandez, unions are meant to help the employees uplift their working lives. That is correct. Sabi ni Paggy Rex, sayang kung i-defund ang UP. Opo. Sabi ni Sir Carlos, okay po, doon na lang ako nanonood sa re-upload ng Karambola at Tambayan kasi tulog ako pag daytime. Ay, sorry po. Okay na po. Pero we're happy to hear that you catch up with the replay. Pasensya na po. Sabi ni Al RKZA, it's not only UP students that are vulnerable of being recruited by the leftists. I remember at the University of Mindanao, leftists are very active and hiding behind front organizations in school. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, ang susunod natin aantayin ay yung Time Magazine People of the Year para dun sa nag-hair flip. Diyos ko, di ba? Nakita niyo ba yon? Bakit? Comment nag-hair flip siya kay Harry Roque. Heroic yung act na yon. Kaloka. Although kinakapatid ko yon. Sabi ni Omni Slash, mas maganda is palakasin ang right-wing ideology at dumami ang right-wing organization sa UP. I think UP needs some introspection also. Kung bakit ang push is always towards the left. Always towards the left. If you are going to be a university that is holistic, if you're going to exercise true academic freedom, then dapat lahat din ng political ideologies welcome. And sa totoo lang, ramdam na ramdam ko pag nasa UP ako na hindi ako kinikibo ng mga dati walang problema pero this is before Duterte, wala akong problema with my classmates or my professors. Pero I really feel the cold shoulder now. Especially when we started becoming more outspoken about this current administration. Nararamdaman naming mga hindi pa kaliwa yung paniniwala. Nararamdaman namin yung para kaming di belong. Pero ang dami namin. 'Di ba? Kami yung how do you call this? The oppressed majority. So what are the UP staff doing to intervene or to protect the vulnerable students in these type of recruitments? That exactly I think is the problem. Is that there are no how do you call this? Student services for those who feel the peer pressure. Hindi kasi style ng estudyante ng UP the general rule. Ngayon siguro kailangan na na mag-provide ang UP ng kahit yung psychosocial support system within the UP. Sabi ni Michael Alava, nagsalita din si Attorney Rex Soplico ng SMNI na kahit graduate siya sa UP, pabor po siya sa naging action ni Sec. Lorenzana. At sabi niya na binabastos ng UP ang judiciary. Judiciary? Paano? Judiciary? O military? Hindi naman nga kami all the same na paniniwala. Just because mga taga-UP kami, hindi ibig sabihin nun, lahat kami, ganun nag-iisip. Kasi that's the whole idea, di ba, of critical thinking. You may not all come to the same conclusions. So, sa akin, yes, I agree with the abrogation because I find it unnecessary in the sense na halimbawa kapag may execution ng warrant of arrest, service ng warrant of arrest or service ng search warrant, magno-notify naman sila sa barangay eh. So, pwede naman na ang gawin ng UP, yung barangay ang mag-inform sa administration. So, I think na given the times, hindi na rin ganun yung mga conditions of 1989, I agree with the abrogation. I would like to just take more time lang to explain kung bakit ginawa ng AFP yon. Hindi kasi maliwanag from the start, but maybe we should schedule a separate discussion again for that. Alam ko hindi nauubos yung mga tanong dito. People really want to talk about this. And so do I actually because yun nga maraming misconceptions. At saka ang wino-worry ko is that we're creating more villains than necessary. Parang dumadami yung kalaban natin. Dadating ang 2022, we don't want to decimate our ranks, di ba? By fighting, even with people who are already on our side. Kaya lang, kinoconsider ninyong kalaban and therefore, you're just pushing them away. Yon sabi ni BJ Kantz, tama recruiter lang habol ng military. So, sabi ni Tatay Strauss Fernandez, courage, aka communists, are bent on destroying the establishment, panalo para sa kanila kapag nagsara ang kumpanya. Dahil lalong magagalit ang mga empleyado na nawalan ng trabaho, sabay recruit agad. Good point. Pero ang courage kasi is, what's this? Yes, ang courage kasi is a government employees federation. Kung titingnan po ninyo sa upper right hand corner, is it here in the video? On the banner. You can click a support Luminous. Dinagdag na namin yan for people who are asking how kasi may mga areas pala na walang super chat. I'm sorry, that was a really bad segue. Sorry. Pero yeah, Courage is a government federation of employees. So, malabong magsasara yung government agency. Sabi ni Ma'am Amor, importante ang magbibigay sanang proteksyon ng mga labor union para protektahan ang karapatan ng mga laborers. Nasisira kasi ang magandang hangarin nito dahil sa nagagamit ng politics of the left. Very well said. Sabi ni Joel Tungal, agreed premier ang UP pero klaro din ang daming radikal dyan sa loob ng UP. Ganito po yun. Hindi naman po kasi kasalanan maging radikal. Hindi naman po kasalanan maging komunista at hilalong hindi kasalanan maging aktivista. Kaya yun na nga yung problema natin. Nagagamit yung mga sweeping words na ito and we're using it to discriminate against our fellow Filipinos. Pag bata ka, talagang mag-e-eksperimento ka with the left. Pag bata ka, it's very romantic to think that you can change the world. Well, we all can, and we still can kahit hindi tayo bata. And that is the essence of activism, that you want to change things. And nothing is wrong with that. What is wrong is when you take up arms against the government. That is a crime. But thinking that you can change things is not. Thinking at all, even any thoughts that are even illegal, thinking is not illegal. As long as you don't take action on it. Diba? Now, there are some speech na pag naghihikayat ka kunwari na oust Duterte and all that. Do you know that that can be considered inciting to sedition? So, uh, we need to retool our misconceptions, ha. Radicalism is not a crime, nor is it wrong in any degree. But taking action on it and using acts of violence, that is wrong. Sabi ni, uy, si Ma'am Sambuanga Hermosa Files nandito. Magandang umaga, Ma'am. Dapat kumibo na rin ang mga tahimik sa UP because apektado sila sa paglala ng usaping ito. Well, some of the alumni are already speaking. Actually, hindi ako alumni, so medyo worried ako makakagraduate ako eh. But hindi naman kasi rin ganun sa UP masyado. Not like other schools where you can face consequences for things that you say, no? Sabi ni reaction kay Idol, konti lang po ang nare-recruit ng NPA sa UP pero panay naman nagiging member ng Politburo. Yes, it's possible. Nagiging leaders talaga. Pinipili nila talaga eh. So, the UP, like I said, is a target because the left really ano, they need intelligent members to help chart their course and help plan, make strategies and all that. So, we should be looking at the students, they're right, as vulnerable and not at the university as a villain. But I agree that maybe we should start calls for UP to have some introspection. Why are some of its kids dying? Diba? Why are some of its kids taking to the hills and being killed there? Why does the CPP NPA think that the UP is still happy hunting grounds? But it's not just UP, I'd like to point that out. Our undue focus, yung masyado tayong nakafocus sa UP, means na hindi natin napapagtuunan ng pansin ang ibang mga universities which have students that are also very vulnerable. Yung recent na mga hinahabol ng mga hands of our children, marami sa kanila hindi UP FEU, ang mga naririnig natin mga ngayon, school ngayon na matindi ang recruitment. Sabi ni Defective, extremism to address extremism is not good and it is chaos. Example, students against students who burn chairs also want to throw chairs at them. It is chaos. Very well said. Sabi ni Ralph J, if my memory serves me right, UP is called before as the Diliman Commune. Hindi po. That was the time in the 70s, just before martial law, when UP students barricaded the university. Kasi nga, matindi yung radicalism at the time, at saka yun talaga yung infiltration. So, the students barricaded the UP and declared them, that was the Diliman Commune, that lasted for like a week, if I'm not mistaken, more or less a week lang. So, yun, that was that incident. That's why we call ourselves the Diliman Republic, di ba? I think kaya sila galit sa communism, sabi ni Adrian, is because most countries na mukhang threatening sa atin are communist. May point ka naman doon. Sabi ni Joel, dyan galing si Nur Miswari sa UP, leader ng MNLF sa Mindanao. Yes, actually, he was a professor. Joma was also a professor in UP. But UP also produced Ferdinand Marcos. Di ba? Are you for a parliamentary form of government? Sabi ni the giant Andre Bon Cobrero. Yes, I am. I want parliamentary, but with not a strict parliamentary ones. I prefer that the ministers, but this is all preliminary. But yes, I prefer parliamentary with some changes. Right? That's mamaya gagamitin na naman ito para atakihin yung Luminous. Yun yung ayoko sa mga ganitong klaseng tanong eh. Sasagutin ko, but I'm not happy. Sabi ni Geek o Goody 8, Nakikinig siya habang nag-DIY for kasi ng hapon sa lugar niya. Sa Norteng Silangang, Britanya. Sabi ni Bug, kasi the media flock ang noise. Ang sama po ng impression ng mga taga-UP dito sa amin sa Negros kasi po ang ingay ng mga negative sa UP. At sayang na po yung mga positives ng UP. Well, that's true. I mean, almost any organization. Tignan niyo yung Senado. Sino yung pinakamaiingay dyan? Sabi ni Tiger Kick, is it true that the students need to rally to pass a certain course? No, it's not true. Some professors might require you to attend a rally to be familiar with the issues involved in it, or some professors give extra credit for joining a rally but not to pass a course. Bawal po yun. Hindi naman po talaga sila dapat mag-recruit, mag-aral lang dapat sila. Hindi naman din natin sinasabi na lahat ng mga estudyante yun ang ginagawa, di ba? Stress yung hair flip, sabi ni BJ Cans. Nagulat ni si Pinky nang balikan siya ni Spokes. Dapat pala mag-champion na uli ang UP sa UAAP basketball kasi sobrang laki pala na school. Wala sa laki. Ibang klase lang talaga si Benji noon at saka si Ronnie Magsano. Kung sa conservative ideology, sabi ni Roldan, parang masasakal ka din. Correct? May nabasa akong article about Sir Bobby Tiglao saying UP is contaminated by communists and needs to be cleaned up. Yes, but that is an opinion. You don't have to subscribe to it. Sabi ni My Munchkin, paano po ba bumuo ng union? Kasi parang wala yata yan sa BPO and maraming nagre-reklamo about how the job isn't worth the pay. Time to remember my law school. Okay, organize muna and then you will ask the company to allow for an election. Magboboto yung mga employees whether or not they're going to have a union. Tapos pinapaalam din ito sa DOLE. May correlation ba ang communism sa liberalism? Tinatanong ni Roldan Dan Ranoco. I'm not sure. Actually, I need to read about that. Ang magaling sa ganyan si Attorney Ahmed. Siguro pag live natin siya minsan about that. Sabi ni Pagirex, parliamentary system is the way. Let ideologies and principles clash. Let the ones with the best pragmatic response prevail. Well, I agree with that. And, I have no quarrel with that. My concern first is that we need to clean up these communist terrorist groups first. Kasi magaling sila mag-organize. And if we don't deal with that problem now, no matter what kind of change of government we have, we're just going to end up giving them more opportunities to ruin the futures of our kids. Ang members ng frats in UP ba are allowed to be recruited by CPP-NPA? In the first place, walang allowed. Because it's illegal na, di ba? Now, do the frats allow their members? Usually, you're so busy with the frat, mahihirapan na silang i-recruit ka pa to go underground. It's rare. But it happens. It still happens. Hi, Ma'am Marites Lucas. Thank you sa pangkape. Ang bait ni Ma'am. Amaya, can you please not do all caps? Kasi para kang sumisigaw eh. Na-infect ng komunista dahil nagmamatigas. May sariling charter sila at accord. Hindi po yung accord ang nagdala ng kahit ano sa UP. Okay? Yung sarili naming charter was in 1908 pa. Ngayon pa kayo magre-reklamo. But it isn't that eh. Like I said, UP isn't the villain. It's the communists who recruit. So kung aawayin ninyo yung UP, ang danger niyan, that's why hindi nga inaaway ng military ang UPs. They don't want to create more enemies and neither should you. Diba? We're going into elections next year in 2022. Kahit sabihin pa natin kokonti ang ang mga graduates ng UP compared to the rest of the voting population, they also can be pushed towards other political ideologies. And if worried kayo na nagiging leaders ang mga taga-UP ng NPA, imagine them as leaders of other political parties now with an axe to grind. But really, di ba ilang beses na natin dinidiscuss dito how an insurgency is created? It's pagka nag-eechipwera kayo ng ibang tao when they are made to feel they don't belong. When they cannot partake of the benefits of society, of the government or of the state. Diba? Being left behind, yung mga ganyan, and they can become very extreme. Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Parang pag naririnig ko rin yung mga, ito kasi yung mga Tagalog ganito. Itong mga Tagalozon kasi ganito. Why do we push ourselves to be divided? Dito, ang liit, ang enemy natin, CPP, NPA, pero magdadamay kayo ng isang buong university that has campuses all over the country and the majority of whose students do not deserve your anger. Why are you doing this? Sabi ni Badong Aratiles, kaya walang nahuhuli na Sparrow unit noong araw dyan kasi nagtatago sa UP na bawal papasukin ng pulis. That is not true. Kasi nga, pag binasa ninyo yung contract, yung accord, exempt po ang hot pursuit. So pag tumakbo sila sa UP, pwede silang habulin sa loob. Pwede rin magkaroon ng surveillance. Ipapaalam lang doon sa UP. Notice lang, hindi pwedeng gumalaw ang UP against it. Kasi ang tawag doon, lalong-lalo na kung may aarestuhin, ang tawag doon obstruction of justice. And by the way, although may mga crimes that are committed inside UP, konti lang po ang related to the left. In fact, very minuscule. Ang mga normal na crimes dyan sa loob, may nawala or may naiwan na bukas yung bag, nawala yung wallet. Yung mga ganyan, yan ang mga common na crimes doon sa barangay UP. So, the problem nga kasi is, ang tingin ninyo sa UP, ibang planeta. Hindi kami iba. Nalagasan ang NPA na naman ng pinagkukunan ng pondo. Saan kaya sila kukuha ng pamalit sa mga umalis sa Courage? Ay, good luck with that. Wala na. Sana nga maging trend, di ba? Yung mga ibang labor unions umalis sana. Sabi ni Michael Alava, dahil po kapag may huhulihin daw ang UP, kailangan pa daw magpaalam sa head ng UP, kaya po niya nabanggit na binabastos ng UP ang judiciary po. I disagree kasi baka hindi updated si Attorney Suplico. Ako, enrolled na student ako sa UP right now. Hindi ko nga alam, makakagraduate ako eh. It doesn't work that way po. At saka yung may coordination rin naman, the law requires a coordination din naman with the barangay eh. So hindi ganun kalaki yung difference. Besides, may gulang ang law. Alam nyo ba na all throughout, even after may accord na, nagko-conduct ng surveillance ang military sa loob. Nag-i-enroll sila ng kung ano-ano mga kurso dyan sa loob. Pwede silang, yung iba, nag-undercover bilang mga fishball vendors, mga ganyan. Alam namin yun. Nakikita din naman namin sila eh. So, really, para sa akin nga, gusto ko yung abrogation because it's useless. There is no point in it. Happy Sunday kay The Boy. Wala na po masyado sumasali sa rally. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, naka-freeze na kasi yung mga assets. Mahirapan na rin sila mag-fundraising. Dapat ang lahat, ito naman si Sir Joel na naka-all caps din, dapat ang lahat ng administrator dyan sa UP i-reshuffling sa Visayas at Mindanao. Depende po kasi yon sa mga kurso. yung mga administrators, hindi naman lahat mai-reshuffle sa ibang mga parts of the country kasi meron silang mga sarili nilang, how do you call this? Well, not just diskarte, meron silang sarili nilang yung hierarchy, yung pag-aangat doon sa ano, yung climbing up the ranks. Plus, in certain areas, mahirapan sila kasi if they don't speak the language, then mahihirapan din sila. So, hindi po kasi kami pulis na pwedeng i-reshuffle sa ibang regions. Hindi po kami mga sundalo o yung mga officials namin na ganong kadali. Kasi sa under the law, and since we're talking about labor, yung paglilipat mo sa ibang lugar na hindi um, na effectively will cause the employee to resign because of hardship might be considered constructive dismissal. Skip tayo ng konti. Why aren't the university or college staff not intervening to protect or stop any kind of recruitment? Sabi ni Tiger King Warku. Yun din po ang tinatanong namin. But it's not the staff kasi hindi naman sila ganun ka-regular na in touch with the students. Yung mga kumbaga transactional lang. Ang madalas nakasama kasi ng mga students are other students also. Pero ang dapat introspection nga ng UP comes when it comes to the professors. Sabi ni Ma'am Sambuanga, kalokohan na sinasabing apektado academic freedom nila. Oo, kalokohan yun. Dahil sa university namin walang accord-accord na ganyan. Okay, in the first place, hindi naman yung accord ang nagbigay ng academic freedom. So pag tinanggal mo yung accord, hindi naman mawawala yung academic freedom. Second, academic freedom is only the right to choose who gets admitted or expelled, the right to choose who gets to teach, what to teach, and how to teach. Yun lang po ang academic freedom. Sabi ni PRM, si President Marcos, product ng UP, tapos todo sira naman sa kanya sa bahay mismo, nagmula ang siraan. Well, hindi naman. Kasi nga, may phases din yan eh. There was a time na talagang he was like the God. Okay? Tapos, nagkaroon ng panibagong administrasyon. And then, nag-umpisa na yung vilification. Magre-reverse din yan. Except that, parang kung titignan ninyo, yung mga eras na ganyan, parang glacial period, mahaba. So, mahaba yung period na sinasanto si President Marcos. And then, ngayon, nagkaroon ng 30 years or so na hindi. Okay, nagkakasiraan. But, ang tingin ko, the Duterte administration marks a change eh. Kasi in the change even in political ideology, in the way we look at government, in the way we look at history or parts of its history like martial law and the careers, nagbabago din yan. So, all of these things, they can change and they are in fact changing. And that's why kailangan ng UP ng introspection. They have to deal with the fact that a majority of the kids that go to the university no longer agree with the radical left. Should we have a higher standard when it comes to professors? No, that's not a dumb question. Sabi ni Adrian Handan. Well, hindi ako yung nagsabi na it's not a dumb question. What standards? Because we cannot set standards of thinking. Diba? We cannot exclude somebody for political ideology. But yun. So, you cannot, for instance, expel a professor because he's a communist or a socialist. Diba? Hindi yan kasama. Sabi ni Elmer Bernard dito, integrity and excellence ang motto ng UP, pero bakit may nare-recruit pa rin ang NPA? Kasi gaya ng LP, ang loyalty ng NPA sa kanila lang at hindi para sa bansa. Kaya walang integrity ang NPA. But you presume that the student who's being recruited at 18 or 19 years of age will be able to see that. Well, first of all, yung estudyante talaga ang nagde-decide na mamumundok o mare-recruit sila. We can't say that it is always an outside influence. What the military is trying to do is minimize that outside influence. Diba? Hindi, pero remember that a student who is 18 is an adult and makes that decision as an adult. Meaning, we cannot, there is no substitution for that decision. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na ikaw teacher ka. Bakit naniniwala ang estudyante sa ganito? Ang pwede lang natin is to provide as many choices for the students as possible. And dun ko nakikita na nagfe-fail ang UP. When it comes to political ideology, they're not presenting everything. At yun ang sinasabi din ng military. How come that side is never presented? How come they're always the bad guy? Huh? Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, yung gigil na gigil sa UP, I have news for you. Victim po kayo ng social engineering. Huwag padala sa galit. Correct. You know why people are encouraging you to demonize UP? Because it divides us. The only way they're going to win is if we are divided. And tingnan nyo, dumadami yung kinagagalit ninyo. Galit sa mga Tagalog, galit sa taga-UP. Enough na yung galit tayo sa pula at saka dilaw. Sila lang ang kalaban natin. Can we stop there? Di ba? Huwag yung hanap pa tayo ng hanap ng panibagong kalaban. Hello po, si Ma'am Lisel is watching from Norway. Mukhang magaling lang talagang NPA sa brainwashing, sabi ni Elmer Bernardito. Ano kayang sabon gamit nila? Na pag nagamit nila, hindi pumuputi, kundi namumula. Maganda yung ideology nyo. Ay, Ma'am Jackie Tonhok, thank you very much. Well, they know how to spot a recruit. Yung naghahanap ng pamilya, yung feeling hindi belong, yung medyo feeling outsider, targets yan, that's number 1. Number 2, yung mga kailangan matalino. Well, usually kasi pag nasa UP no-brainer, matalino yan, nakapasok eh. Which doesn't mean to say na yung matatalino, may walang, kumbaga may mga, lahat ng na-exclude ay hindi matalino, di ba? They're not saying that either. Pero they look for the vulnerable ones. Madali, lalo kung kunwari, hindi sa bahay nakatira, nagdo-dorm. Ang ganyan, kasi malayo sa pamilya, malayo sa mga ganong klaseng support groups. Kung may frat ka na, malabo ka na ma-recruit. Kung may org ka na, posibleng ma-recruit ka, pero it depends pa rin. Ganyan. And it's across the board, ha. Pwede yung mayayaman na re-recruit din sila. Tignan mo sila Maita Gomez. Namundok yung mga yan, yung mga beauty queen na namundok. They came from good families. They came from wealthy families. Na-recruit pa rin sila. What I think we have to remember is that we should not be making more enemies. Don't exclude the kids in UP who are supporters of the president or who don't really care for the radical left, who don't join the rallies. Like I said, kahit sabihin mo pang 200, kahit sabihin mo pang 1,000 yung sumali sa rally na yon, 12,000 regular undergraduate students. We're not counting masters, we're not counting the faculty, we're not counting the community. We're not even counting the fact na yung mga hindi lahat nakaka-graduate on time. So, that's more than 12,000. How many really join these things? Pero, you will paint everybody with the same brush? Ang konti nga lang nang nare-recruit, pero galit na galit kayo. Disproportionate yan. Somebody is trying to divide us, so they will push it to extremes. Make you angry. Yeah? And remember, that's the other thing, how they recruit. Angry people don't think rationally. So gagalitin nila, sasabihin nila, ito yung injustice, ito yung ganito, ito yung ganitong nangyayari. Isipin mo, paano ka na lang? Kahit makatapos ka, anong trabaho mo lang makukuha? Hampas lupa tayo forever. Yeah? Why contribute to that? So madalas target nila if mga from the province na lumuluwas sa UP. Actually, hindi pero it helps. Meron din kasi basta yung may oras, Yung ano, yung mga, at saka yung mga mas madalas na on campus for some reason. Kasi yung iba, kunwari, may kotse ka, pagkatapos na klase mo, hindi ka tatambay sa school eh. Alis ka na, gimmick na. Nga ganon. Yung mga may oras. Ah, sabi ni Bantil, ngayon ako naniniwala, hindi demokrasya kailangan ng Pilipinas, disiplina. I think we need both. We have the democracy now, we need more discipline. Pero not one in exchange for the other. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, actually ginawa ko rin yan, divide and conquer kay Karen. Sabi ko sa lahat ng ginawa mo for your side, walang nag-celebrate. Tapos isang hair flip lang, everybody's applauding. Sa club, besh. Oo nga eh. Yung mga tipong, oh, ano Karen, paano yan? Isang hair flip lang, lahat ng mga Dutch and Duchesses mo. Nabaliwala. Good one. Mm. So, medyo sumobra na tayo sa oras. Maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa live natin po ngayon. Sarap makipagkwentuhan sa inyo. Uh, let's pick 2 more questions. Sabi ni Roldan, mahirap makabangon ng yellow kasi wala kasing infra na may impact sa bansa, puro monumento. Pagpapalit ng pangalan ng project na hindi sa kanila, paglalagay ng mukha sa pera. Oo, pero actually, pag nilalagay mukha nila sa pera, di ba natural, campaigning na yon, lumabas lang yung pera na may mukha mo, may nakampanya na kagad yung panig mo. Ayan. Sabi ni Ma'am Amor, sagot lang sa propaganda ng mga communist terrorists ay counter-propaganda ng military at government. Uy, and don't forget us. Tayo din. Mabuti na lang at may social media dahil nakikita ko na we are winning. Balat sibuyas lang kasi ang left. Actually, desperado ang left. That's why kailangan lubusin natin yung proteksyon ng mga vulnerable sectors para wala silang source na pagkukuhaan na ng kanilang recruits. Uy, thank you kay Ma'am Risa. Totoo yun. Sabi niya dahil ang mga bata ay madaling buhayin ang grupo, buhayin sa group, galit at ang mga nagre-recruit knows how to manipulate the vulnerable young students. I agree. So, on our part also, we have to offer something to our students. Ako sinasabi ko na nga, nag-volunteer ako if kailangan na kausapin sila or to provide siguro some kind of services, psychological and psychosocial services for students who feel pressured to join these organizations. I think that's one way that we can help. Another way also is to teach them other things that they can be interested in kung feeling nila hindi sila belong sa campus, to create other diversions for them or to help them out also in their studies para nalilibang sila dun sa ways that will not drive them to the arms of the communist terrorist groups. Sabi ni Adrian, I have a friend who graduated at UP who's now abroad because she said nobody would hire her. Are they saying they won't hire her because she's from UP? Or they won't hire her because of the way she's thinking? So, we really need to examine din how we're going to, huwag tayo masyadong judgmental. So, ganon. Okay, thank you very much. Uy, maraming salamat sa mga nag-super chat. Thank you very much. We appreciate this. There's a button on the upper right hand, on the banner. Pag pumunta kayo dun sa banner ng homepage nito, yung yung channel ng Luminous, dun sa banner, merong nakalagay na support button. So, for those na walang super chat sa mga areas ninyo, you can click that button to send coffee. to support my coffee addiction. Thank you very much, everybody. Last, kasi si Cesar may habol. Kailangan ba ang executive order para ma-abolish ang party list system or amend sa Constitution? amend po sa Constitution yan. But if it is too difficult, actually we can rationalize it. Kaya nagiging ganyan yung mga nananalo na party list is because of the rules that are set by the COMELEC and by the sometimes seemingly random changes in the rules. Meron talagang nagbe-benefit dyan. So kailangan tignan natin yung mga rules ng COMELEC at saka yung ibang mga Supreme Court resolutions. Actually, we can change that simply by changing the law. We don't even have to change the Constitution. But we can keep the benefits of the party list system without the bad stuff na nangyayari ngayon. Sige, maraming salamat. Thank you very much, everybody. Uy, umaga na. Happy Sunday to everybody and thank you everybody for all of your questions. Puro ko everybody. Thank you for all of your questions, all of your contributions, and your super chat. Stay safe. May live pa rin tayo tomorrow on Sunday, probably in the afternoon. We'll see you then.